Next concept, electromagnetic induction. Michael Faraday was the one who discovered that how a moving magnet can be used to generate current. So until now we kept magnet current and we generated motion. Now we are going to move the magnet and generate current. How? We'll understand with 2-3 experiments. Next, you need to know what is a galvanometer. A galvanometer is a device to detect the presence of current. It only tells you whether current is there or not and in which direction. So, galvanometer is a device that is used to detect the presence of current. So, the first experiment under electromagnetic induction, magnet and coil experiment. We take a coil wound around a cylindrical tube and we have a galvanometer attached so that we can detect if there is current flowing through it. There is a magnet here, north pole is here, south pole is here. So, if I simply keep the magnet stationary, there is no deflection. If I simply keep the magnet stationary, there is no deflection. If I brought the north pole closer, we saw that there is a deflection. Now, the north pole has come closer and now it is inside this tube. Now, I stop. Will the deflection continue to be there? No. It is back to nothing, no deflection. Now I take it away. Now if I take it away, the north pole, if I am taking it away, there is a deflection but it is in the opposite direction. Suppose I bring the south pole closer. North pole means it moved in this direction. South pole means it will move in this direction. If I move the magnet faster, we see more deflection. So, if you move the magnet faster, you see more deflection. What is happening here? If you keep the magnet here stationary or bring it here and keep it stationary, you will see that there is no deflection. That means no current is induced. So, basically what is happening? So, those points that I just stated about the deflection, that is what is written here in the observation. So, what is basically happening? See, if this is the coil, and we have a magnet here, there is magnetic field linking with the coil, right? Now there is no deflection. As I bring the magnet closer, obviously this has more field lines because it is closer, yes, more field lines. So, basically the magnetic field linking with the coil changed. The magnetic field linking with the coil changed. When you are bringing it closer, the magnetic field linking with the coil is increasing. So, the magnetic field is changing. When it is changing, because it is changing, we found current induced. Now, if I bring this magnet and I keep it very close to this, if I bring the magnet, I keep it very close here. Now it's kept stationary, it's there. There is magnetic field linking with the coil. But is it changing? No. Which is why there is no deflection. So the point to be noted here is, there is a deflection only when the magnetic field linking with the coil is changing. There is a deflection only when the magnetic field linking with the coil is changing. Is it necessary to move magnet only? No, you can keep the magnet there and move the coil. Then also the magnetic field linking with the coil will change. Point being, you have to just make sure the magnetic field is changing, linking with the coil is changing. Then only there is a current induced. This is called current induced, meaning you are producing a current. So, the other point to note here is, so when is the magnetic field linking with the coil changing? Only when it is moving or when the coil is moving. In other words, there should be relative motion between the two. What does this mean? Let us assume this is the coil and this is the magnet, okay? Coil and magnet are both moving in same direction with same speed. So, how many of our lines are linking with the coil? What if both of them are moving and both are moving with same speed? Will the field lines linking with the coil change? Will the field lines linking with the coil change? No, both are moving with same speed. Field lines linking with the coil will not change. So that time also there is no induced current. So point being here is not to simply move the magnet and simply move the coil. There should be relative motion. Why should there be relative motion? So that the magnetic field linking with the coil is changing. And since the magnetic field linking with the coil is changing, there is an current induced. The next experiment, coil-coil experiment. You have two coils, coil 1 and coil 2. Coil 1 is connected to a battery, coil 2 is connected to a galvanometer. We will be giving current in coil 1, but you will see there is a current induced in coil 2 as well. How? First of all, coil 1 is called the primary coil, coil 2 is called the secondary coil. Coil 1 behaves as a solenoid because as you switch on current, this is cylindrical, it behaves as a solenoid. When you switch on current, it generates a magnetic field around it. This magnetic field itself will link with coil 2, obviously. So now let's understand the observation of this experiment. Now initially when the current is switched off, there is no deflection in the coil 2. When the current is switched on, when it is just switched on, so we are switching on the current here, there is a momentary deflection. It will deflect and it will come back. Why? So from 0 amperes, it basically went to, let's say, 5 amperes. From 0 amperes, you switched on, it went to 5 amperes, it deflected. But now it is constantly at 5 amperes. So then there is no deflection. Now when you switch off the circuit, from 5 amperes you bring it down back to 0 amperes. So there is no more current, the current change has occurred. Again there will be momentary deflection in the opposite direction. Then it is now constantly 0 amperes, current is switched off. Again no deflection. So when the current is steady, it is either 0 or 5 constantly not changing, there is no deflection. If the current is steady, there is no deflection. When is the current induced? When is there a deflection? Only when the current is changing. Why? We will understand. One more point to note over here is, if the change in current is more, instead of 0 to 5, if I went from 0 to 10, then there will be more deflection. So if the change in current is more, there is more deflection observed. Now the point to be noted in this experiment is, if there was steady current, constantly 5 amperes, constantly no current, 0 amperes or whatever, then for steady current and no current, there is no deflection. For steady current and no current, there is no deflection. But there is a deflection whenever current is changing. Why? What is the conclusion? In the previous experiment, we learned that current is induced only when the magnetic field linking with the coil is changing. Current is induced only when the magnetic field linking with the coil is changing. If the current in coil 1 is changing, the magnetic field around coil 1 is also changing. That means the magnetic field linking with coil 2 is also changing. If the magnetic field linking with the coil 2 is changing, then a current is induced. When is it changing? When you are switching on and switching off the circuit. Therefore, only when you switch on and switch off the circuit, you are seeing a momentary deflection in coil 2. So what is the definition of electromagnetic induction? We have not yet defined it. The process by which a change in magnetic field in a conductor induces a current in another conductor is called electromagnetic induction. We just saw it in that coil-coil experiment. You are changing the magnetic field in this conductor. This is finally inducing a current in another conductor. Right? So this is the definition of electromagnetic induction. The potential generated during electromagnetic induction is called induced EMF. The current generated during electromagnetic induction is called induced current. Is there a way to get to know the direction of the induced current? Yes, which brings us to the next rule, Fleming's right hand rule. So in Fleming's right hand rule, very similar to Fleming's left hand rule, stretch your 3 fingers, that's the thumb, index finger and the middle finger, in such a way that they are mutually perpendicular to each other. In Fleming's left hand rule, it was done to get the motion of the conductor, which is why we left the thumb. Here we want to know the direction of induced current, and who is current among these 3? This is current. So this will be your last finger that you will take. Okay, so stretch your right hand such that the thumb, index finger and the middle finger are all mutually perpendicular to each other. Then, if the direction of magnetic field is indicated by the index finger and the direction of motion of the, so stretch your right hand such that the thumb, index finger and the middle finger are all mutually perpendicular to each other. If the direction of magnetic field is given by the index finger and the direction of motion is given by the thumb, then the direction of the induced current is given by the middle finger. Clear? Yes. So, your final answer should be middle finger here. This result of this is your middle finger, that's nothing but your induced current. We have basically learned 3 rules until now. I will summarize it after the next concept. Page 236, question 1. Explain different ways to induce current in a coil. So from our first experiment, magnet coil experiment, we learned that you can keep a coil and move the magnet, or keep the magnet and move the coil. So we'll take this as 2 points. Moving the coil in a magnetic field. Keep a magnet, so there's magnetic field, moving the coil, that will induce current. Bring the bar magnet close to the coil and take it away. This is the coil, bring the bar magnet close to the coil and take it away. You can still induce current. And the next experiment taught us that if you change the current in one coil that is placed next to another coil, there is a current induced in the other coil. So these are the 3 ways that we know of inducing current. Okay. So now let's summarize the 3 rules. First we learned right hand thumb rule. Next we learned Fleming's left hand rule. Next we learned Fleming's right hand rule. See, Fleming's left hand rule, right hand rule, don't get confused. First, right hand thumb rule. Right hand thumb rule is used for what? To get to know the direction of the magnetic field around a straight current carrying conductor. Fleming's left hand rule is to know the direction of what? Of the motion of a conductor. What kind of conductor? That is carrying current and placed in a magnetic field. So here this is nothing but direction of magnetic field around a straight conductor. Here it is nothing but what? Direction of motion. And here Fleming's right hand rule is used to get to know the direction of the induced current. And when is that current induced? When we have the conductor moving in a magnetic field. So there's motion and field and you get the current here. So these are the 3 rules we know until now. We just learned Fleming's right hand rule. Where do we apply Fleming's right hand rule? Wherever we induce current, that's where we'll apply Fleming's right hand rule, because Fleming's right hand rule, the final answer, the result gives you the direction of induced current. So where do we induce current? We induce current in generators, electric generators. How? Here we'll be studying the first generator, AC generator. AC refers to alternating current. Why? What is the meaning of this? We will understand after we understand how generator works. So what does a generator do? It uses mechanical energy to rotate the coil and hence induce current in the coil, right? Mechanical energy is getting converted to electricity. In motor, electricity got converted to mechanical energy. What is the principle of a AC generator? Electromagnetic induction is the principle of AC generator. How do we construct this? We take magnets to create a magnetic field, and then we have a coil attached to an axle. This is an axle. We rotate the axle. So there's one ring here, there's one ring here, and we rotate this. We rotate this. So this is mechanical energy. We rotate this. We have brushes here for easy movement, that is so that the charge can easily flow from the external circuit to the ring. Please understand, here we have slip rings, not split rings. In DC motor we had one ring split into 2. Here we have slip rings. So there are 2 entire rings here. Okay, so the coil is the ends of the coil are connected to the slip rings R1 and R2. The rings are connected to the brushes, and the external circuit has a galvanometer to detect the presence of current. Let us now see the working of the AC generator. we rotate the coil in the clockwise direction. We rotate the coil in the clockwise direction. So AB will go upwards and CD will go downwards. Agreed? AB will go upwards and CD will go downwards. So now AB is going upwards and the magnetic field is in this direction from north to south. So take your right hand. We are applying Fleming's right hand rule on AB now. Applying Fleming's right hand rule on AB. So here, first of all, we have to note AB is going upwards, CD is coming downwards. Now applying Fleming's right hand rule on AB. Magnetic field is from north to south. The coil is moving, the AB is moving upwards. So keep your field as it is, make the coil move upwards. You can see current is going to go from A to B, which is why we have drawn A to B. See, current is going from A to B. Next, so now come to CD. CD is moving downwards. CD is moving downwards. Field is as it is. Keep it as it is and put the thumb downwards. Current is coming from C to D. So the arrow current is coming from here to here. So current is going from A to B, C to D, and thus it will flow like this. Understand? Here this is ring 1 and ring 2. So current starts from here and it goes here, touches this brush and it flows via the load in the galvanometer. If this load here is nothing but galvanometer, okay. So the galvanometer will deflect in this direction because current is going from here to here. Now after half rotation, AB will come this side and CD will come this side. AB will come this side and CD will come this side. So now AB is here, CD is here. Now AB is going downwards, CD is going upwards. Here AB was going upwards, CD was going downwards. Now A and B, AB has come after half rotation, AB is here, CD is here. AB is going downwards, CD is coming upwards. Same method, apply Fleming's right hand rule. Field is going from north to south, you are lifting CD up, current is going inside. So D to C. And here field is going again north to south, that is moving downwards. So B to A. So if you can see here, B to A is connected to whom? S1, ring 1, R1 in the first diagram. It's connected to the ring 1, it flows like this and then goes to S2 and the circuit is completed. So it's flowing from S1 and the load, it goes in this direction, the deflection changes. Can you see? The current direction changed. Now again after half rotation, AB is back here. Again now AB going up, CD coming down, current will again get reversed. It will become this case, then again this case. Every half rotation, the direction of current is changing. Every half rotation, the direction of current is alternating. So currents that reverse direction at equal intervals of time is called alternating current, and hence this device is called an AC generator. Now, okay, so 1 minute current is going here, 1 minute current is going there. What if I want to make a DC generator? That means I don't want alternating. I want it always to be in one direction. I always want it to be in one direction. Very simple. Instead of using slip rings, use split rings. What do split rings do? It behaves as a commutator. It will reverse the direction of current. Okay. Now, here other thing that you have to understand is, in one rotation, polarity changes twice. If this is positive to negative, here this is positive to negative. Current flows from positive to negative. So in one rotation, polarity changes twice. One time, two time, right? So there are two polarity changes twice. Now, stop. So in India, the electricity we get in our house comes at the frequency of 50 hertz. 50 hertz means 50 cycles in 1 second. This will rotate 50 times. 50 times means how many times will the current change in 1 second? How many times will the current change in 1 second? 100 times the current will change in 1 second. Yes, because each time it turns, it is 2 changes. So 50 times if it's changing in 1 second, then the current is changing. Stop. So frequency 50 hertz. Frequency you should have learned in your lower classes is a number of cycles per second. So 50 rotations in 1 second. That means how many times is the polarity changing in 1 second? 100 times, because in one cycle it's changing twice. So 50 cycles, 100 times. That means 100 times in 1 second. That means 1 by 100 second, it changes 1 time. So every 1 by 100 second, every 1 by 100 second, the polarity is changing in India. That means in the circuit, the current electricity that we are getting at our house. Advantages of AC over DC. AC has a lot of advantages over DC, AC being alternating current, DC being direct current, which is why the current that we get in our houses are AC, alternating current. Then why don't we see the rotation happening once like this and once like this, or the current changing directions? Is it really happening like that? So understanding how AC is related to domestic circuits, in reality what is happening with if it reverses current, is a little complex to understand at this level. You will understand that at higher classes. For now, we just need to know the working of a AC generator and a few reasons why we would select AC over DC. AC can be transmitted over long distances with less energy loss compared to DC. In DC, there is more energy loss. Next, it is cheaper to manufacture AC over DC, which is why we prefer AC. So now the voltage, the AC voltage coming in our houses are 220 volt in India. So now for example, your charger, okay, your phone charger needs only 5 volts, your TV needs 1000 volts. So 220 volts has to be stepped up to 1000 volts and the 220 volts has to be stepped down to 5 volts. Now the government does not know what kind of appliances you have in your house and what voltage you need. It's giving everyone 220. You have to either step up or step down. So you can vary the voltage using transformers. You can step up or step down the voltage using transformers. If it is DC, you can't vary it so easily. Next, AC can be easily converted to DC using a device called rectifier. Vice versa, not possible. So AC can be easily converted to DC using a device called rectifiers. Page 237, question 1. State the principle of an electric generator. Electromagnetic induction is the principle of an electric generator. You have to state it. So when a coil is rotated in a magnetic field, a current is induced. The direction of the induced current can be obtained by using Fleming's right hand rule. Name some sources of direct current. Your battery, solar cells and DC generator. Which source produces alternating current? We just learnt AC generator. Question 4. Choose the correct option. A rectangular coil of copper wire is rotated in a magnetic field. The direction of the induced current changes once in each half rotation, half revolution. We just learnt it. In one rotation it changes twice. So every half it changes. Half changes. Changes. So half change. Half change, right? So every half revolution it changes. See, AC generator and everything I have explained until now. It's very important you go through the notes. It's explained in steps, principle, construction, working. You have to write your answers just like that. So keep your notes, revise it until here and then refer to the next part. The notes is very important in this chapter.